Welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. I was very keen just to start getting some early tests out onto YouTube, because I know a lot of you are sitting at home, especially this weekend, watching this, wondering whether you should stay on the fence with your Osmo Action 4 or 5 or make the plunge for the 6. So I'm just going to pop my visor down. You might have a better chance of hearing me. So this is not a full review by any means. It is literally early tests, of which I'm going to be doing a lot of. My God, I'm steaming up already. Okay, I'll tell you my settings, and then obviously a lot of this has to be done retrospectively. So I'll tell you my settings, then I'll cut back to me sitting in the edit suite and tell you exactly what I think of it. So first off, I'm in the normal color profile. I just wanted to see how the picture looked straight out of the camera without any tweaking or anything. I'm saying any tweaking, of course. I've done a little bit of tweaking because in the image adjustment in the settings, I've taken the texture and the noise reduction both down to -2, just to get rid of that horrible video look which you get on most action cameras. I'm also shooting in 4K 50. The reason I shoot in 50 is because on a lot of my rides, I mean, obviously this is my thing. This is why I use action cameras. I mentioned in the video I released recently, I think I called it Osmo Action 6 Debunked. I mentioned that I'm a television cameraman, director of photography for a living. I do often use these cameras now within the TV shows that I work on, and more so because the color science and the profiles are just becoming fantastic, especially to intercut with the Sony professional cameras that I use for work. So the reason I use 4K 50 on a motorbike is quite often I ride past a point of interest and I like to go instantly into slow-mo, which you can do, of course, if you're shooting in 50 or 60. You can just take it down into 25 or 30 retrospectively without getting that horrible jitter. So, and because 50 is progressive now, rather than an interlaced format like the older cameras, it doesn't, again, look like that horrible video camera. It all looks cinematic. So that's what I prefer to shoot in. Obviously, it's up to you what you want to shoot in. What you're listening to me on now, also, I'm going to touch on this. Again, there are going to be far more in-depth tests coming on all of this. So you're listening to me on the Osmo Audio. I'm using the Mic 3 transmitter inside the helmet, and you're listening to me on the sound coming straight out of the camera from that transmitter. I'm not using the 32-bit float by any means. And I'm going to play the sound just as it is. I'm not going to tweak it in the edit. I'm just going to play it raw from the camera, just so you get a really good idea whether it's clipping or not. And again, I'll only know that when I get back to the edit suite. The level is down to -12, one of my big gripes. Why doesn't it go down to -20? Because when you plug the lav mic in, of course, you can take it down to -20. Massive control with a lav mic. Unfortunately not using the Mic 3. So very interested, of course, to see how it sounds. I'm looking at the little viewfinder on the back of the camera, whilst it's sat on the front of my helmet here. By the way, if you're looking at me like you are now, the reverse cam is also with the DJI Osmo 360 camera. I love that whole sort of ecosystem, because of D-Log-M, which is DJI's sort of halfway house towards log on their latest drones like the DJI Mavic 4. They do a full log mode as well. I actually still prefer D-Log-M. It's a lot easier to color grade, and on the Mavic 4 Pro drone, it has much more dynamic range, the D-Log-M over D-Log. So anyway, that's for another day. Interested to see what all of this contrast looks like, just riding through the trees. So yeah, it's a beautiful afternoon. I've also got an ND8 filter on, just to try and bring that shutter speed down a little bit with this harsh sunlight and stop that jittering. I mean, when I released the first video, Debunked, a few days ago, I made a rookie mistake, even as a professional DOP, 37 years at it. One of the things I love about my gig is that you never stop learning. And indeed, I have just learnt again. I was very forthcoming about the fact that the aperture, the manual aperture that DJI claimed was in this camera, I should have bitten my tongue, because I said, how can you put a manual aperture in a unit this small? And I said it would be a digitally enhanced aperture to make it look like a manual aperture, or iris rather. Anyway, I was incorrect. It does indeed have a mechanical iris, albeit only from f2 to f4, so you're only really going to see the effects of that at night time in low light. And I'm looking forward to doing those tests. But fair play to DJI, always thinking outside the box and raising the bar again. Looking forward to trying that. I think we've seen enough of this natural colour profile. So we'll just cut to my voice now in the edit suite, and I shall tell you exactly what I think of this colour profile.
So as you can hear, the DJI Mic 3 definitely still runs too hot, even at its lowest minus 12 dB. The next time I go out, I will try the dynamic setup within the AGC, but I remember trying that on the 360 camera when they released that in the summer, and it was far too severe. However, I will give it a go. And I'm a little bit disappointed about that, because it was a huge complaint when DJI released the 360 camera that the audio was still clipping so much, even within this sort of new setup to try and accommodate this new microphone, the Mic 3. But it's definitely far too hot still within the helmet. Let's talk about the colour in this normal setting. As you can see, it's very saturated, as it was when they released the Action 5. So it's going to be D-Log M for me from now on until they fix it with a firmware upgrade. But hey, that's why we do these tests. In fairness, I could have done with an ND16 on, because I'm still looking at the strobing in the hedgerows we're passing there. It's a little bit too severe, so the next time I go out I will be taking it out of auto exposure and locking the shutter speed at 100. Don't forget that 180 degree rule. If you're shooting at 50, just double it, and then you get the correct amount of motion blur. So if you're shooting at 50, then your shutter speed will be 100. If you're shooting at 25, your shutter speed will be 50. So all that to come in future tests. Like I say, I just wanted to get out and get something in the can so you could all see.
Okay, back to me on the bike. One thing I forgot to tell you there is when I set off before and firing the camera up, I'm so excited about this, and to me, if I had the Osmo Action 4 or the 5, this would be the deal swinger for me. I will buy this 6 just on the strength of this. It fires up instantly. As soon as you press the record button on top of the camera, it fires up within 1 second you're recording, and not only that, it connects instantly to the DJI Mic 3 transmitter in the Osmo Action 4, and I believe in the 5 as well. Not that I ever owned the 5, but I've heard from other users is that after firing the camera up, sometimes you can be waiting 10 or 15 seconds for it to connect to the Mic 3 transmitter. And of course, doing what I'm doing, riding past points of interest, I mean, look at how fascinating these trees are. When you want to talk about something, as soon as you see it on the road, you've ridden past it in previous models, you've ridden past it before it even connects to your microphone. So I am now in D-Log M. Very interested to see how that looks, and of course you can just download the LUT now on DJI's website and just drop it onto your footage in the edit. Oh, the road's closed, I ain't going anywhere here. Oh, there's a tree down, a big tree. So that's a good excuse actually to ride back into the sun. Because a few of you have been asking me, is that trumpet flare still there in the lens? Well, you're about to find out. I'm just going to fire up the 360 camera as well and get a reverse angle with some light on me this time. The other thing I need to tell you, so I'm very happy about the startup, extremely happy about the startup. Like I say, that would swing the deal for me. But the other thing I should tell you that with the settings is that I'm in what's it called, natural wide. I'm not entirely convinced with that. It sits somewhere between the wide setting and the ultra wide setting. Now on the ultra wide setting you could see a lot more of my hands on the handlebars. So for a motorbike channel like mine, I think I'll probably go back into ultra wide, but again, I'll know better when I sit and evaluate this footage in the edit. So this natural wide that I'm in now, of course, well, it does exactly what it says on the tin. It takes away that horrible curvature of the ultra wide. That's the plus side of this lens setting. Again, I can't really stare too long at the back of the camera screen when I'm riding a bike, but I'll know better in the edit. In fact, why don't we go to the edit now, and I can tell you exactly what I think of this picture.
So D-Log M with the DJI LUT dropped straight on, and zero tweaking provides this rather gorgeous image. Don't forget, these are only initial tests, so of course I'll be fine-tuning probably for months to come, but I'm super impressed with this image.
Just a few little incidentals to tell you about as well. Before, for my final test, I switched to the lav mic, which I'm really looking forward to. So the incidentals are, I don't feel as though this is any heavier at all. Even though the camera is slightly bigger than the Action 4 and the Action 5 Pro, it doesn't feel any heavier at all on the front of my helmet, and I certainly don't notice it being any larger. Even though the top of the camera is in view, which I like to have just so I can double check everything is recording, and it's recording audio on the back of the screen there, because I can see the audio meter when I have it like this on my helmet. So other than that, all is good. Okay, I think time for the big audio test. Let's plug the lav mic in and see which one you think sounds best. And we're back on board, and this time you're listening to me using the lav mic from DJI with the audio adapter also from DJI. That adapter does work, well, has worked with me on the Osmo Action 4 and on the 5, so it plugs straight into the side of your Action 6, so no need to be buying another one. That's another great thing about DJI. They keep the battery sizes the same, the camera mounts are all universal, and now the audio adapter also fits the last 3 generations, so good on you, DJI. I have the level of the lav mic set to -8. I do apologise for this really bright sunshine. I am riding home, and I think at the same time you're listening to me, you will be able to see how the camera copes with this really harsh contrast riding in and out of the shadows of the trees, and also that lens flare. The other thing to tell you about the audio is that I noticed in the audio settings there that even though I'm using a lav mic, it still has an adaptive gain control on the lav mic, which is new. It certainly didn't have that on the 4. I'm not sure if the 5 had it, but I suspect they've introduced it for this. So even though I've set it at -8 because that's what the level on the display meter looked best at on the back of the screen here, using that adaptive gain control, certainly when you're on a motorbike like this, it should he says optimistically, avoid clipping. Okay, I hope you have enjoyed these initial tests. Obviously there are so many variables within this camera to go off and explore. I couldn't possibly do a video exploring all of them straight away, but rest assured I shall be touching on most of the settings. If you're here because of this camera and you're new to it, well, predominantly I am a motorcycle channel, but as I mentioned at the beginning of this video and on my last video, I am a director of photography for a living for the last 37 years, so I do know a thing or two about cameras. So stay tuned. If you're not a subscriber to the channel, you might even think about becoming one, and you don't have to watch all the motorbike stuff if that's not what you're into, because for the foreseeable I will be certainly putting this Osmo Action 6 through its paces, and once I have settled on the setting which I like best and which suits my workflow best, I shall then be using it in conjunction with the 360 camera as well. So on that note, thank you once again for tuning in. Really appreciate you being here, and whatever your sport or hobby is, or whatever your use for this Osmo Action 6 is, I really hope you've taken something from it. and you can adapt it, like I say, to your needs. Have a great week, everybody. I shall be back very soon with more videos. Dave Perry, Really Good TV. It's a wrap.